Bliss, Love, and Lavender family is Nubia K. Sade here, and if you want to learn the new way of selling, keep watching this video. Today, we're going to dive into a game-changing topic, how to sell your product or your service the right way, okay? Whether you're selling a product or a service, these principles work across the board. And trust me, when you get this new intentional and relation-driven approach to selling, it changes everything. So, I just want to start this video off by saying I am so grateful I've been awarded the opportunity to come to Dubai, the UAE, and study how they sell. The sales consultants and the customer service representatives and the network marketers and the real estate agents, they're all in the business of selling. Selling is what drives revenue. And so sales consultants are assets. In my eyes, through my lens, sales consultants are assets, which means that when these businesses are onboarding the face of the company, because these are customer facing roles, these companies are paying for their onboarding, their training, paying them and providing them with whatever medical expenses and all those things. This company is invested in an asset now. Depending on how well this asset is equipped and can perform, it's going to determine, is this a good investment? And so when I take a look and I observe the way people sell, I think in terms of asset versus liability. Now, if you are a sales consultant or if you have sales consultants who's driving revenue, they're assets. If you have consultants who's leaving money on the table because of maybe their shyness or their inability to articulate the value of the product or service, or they don't have a charismatic nature and they're not outgoing, this becomes more of a liability. So selling is not about convincing someone to buy something they don't need. Selling is about opening up an intentional relationship. So this is how I want you to think of sales. And if you're watching this and you are in sales or you have a team of sales representatives, it's vital to understand, right? Sales is about serving someone in a way that helps them get closer to their desires and further away from their current pain points. So let's talk about the do's and the don'ts of selling effectively with strategy. And so first things first, do set the stage. Number one, do not go into conversations without setting the intention. In the beginning of the video, I let you know what we're going to be talking about and setting the intention on what you're going to receive by watching this video. It was helpful for you, so you want to know immediately, okay, this is something I want to tune into, or I'm not interested in getting better at sales. I'm not in sales. I don't have a sales team. Sales make me nervous. I'm not interested in sharpening the skill. I don't want no parts. Now, the reason why this is valuable is because people can immediately start to lean in because they know what they're leaning into. When you start a conversation and you're having a sales conversation and you set the stage, you're allowing a person to be able to already put their point in and say, yeah, I'm interested. This leaning inward, this is the energetics of sales. So think of sales as almost like a dance, right? A person's leaning in, they're interested. The more they can lean in, the more they are closer to the close, to the sale, to the product, to the service being in their hand versus just in their mind or in the conversation. So, setting the stage. So, do not go into any conversation without setting intention. Now, this is in sales and this is in life. What I found to be very impactful in my personal relationships, business meetings, anything that I do is when setting intention, it allows for a phenomenal flow of conversation, but in a container that is valuable to both parties. Nothing is worse than having a conversation with someone and you think it's a conversation and it's just simply you talking. and the person drifting away in their mind. Maybe they're somewhere in paradise in the Bahamas in their mind. Yet you know nothing about that because there's no engagement and you're in the conversation by yourself. So when you set the stage, it's a key factor in ensuring that both parties are on the same page, right? This conversation is going to be about 15 minutes. Okay, so I know in the back of my mind, I got 15 minutes to engage with this person. So when you let the person know how the conversation is going to flow, for an example, you might say, okay, today we're going to explore where you're at right now. What's most important to you? And how my product or my service could potentially be in alignment with supporting your goals, right? When you do this, it positions you as an authority. It's like going to someone's home, right? And walking into their home, and maybe you're walking into someone's home or a business meeting, and a person starts to guide you. Oh, hey, you can take your shoes off right here. Here's a bottle of water. Here's where you can hang your coat. You feel connected. You feel involved. There is engagement. But have you ever got invited into someone's home and then you're just standing there and you don't know what to do? And they just start walking in their home and you're like, okay, do I take my shoes off? Do I put my coat here? Okay. You start to get lost and you don't feel connected. It doesn't feel like a we thing. It feels like a what am I doing here type of thing. It's the same thing goes in sales conversations and also in business meetings, right? If a person welcomes you into their office and they say, hey, you can put your laptop here or here's the Wi-Fi. You feel more deeply connected. And here's the thing about sales. Sales is connection, 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 connection. The new way of selling is extremely feminine because it involves nurturing, it involves connection, it involves empathy, compassion, active listening. So, when you let the person know how the conversation is going to flow, and you let them know where the Wi-Fi is and what they can do, and you start to make them feel like they're in your home, even if you're on a sales floor in the middle of the mall, you want them to feel like, oh, I just came to this person's home. So, when you do this, it positions you as the authority and it creates clarity and ease for the person that you're speaking with. When they know the flow, they can relax. And you've already established yourself as the expert in the room. Number two, ask specific intentional questions. Do not ask broad, surface level questions just to get to know someone. Instead, you want to ask specific questions that will help you learn what truly matters to them. This is going to strategically position your offer later on. It's going to help you paint the picture and position your offer in that picture beautifully and elegantly. So, if let's say we're on a date, right? We're on a date, you're on a date. If you ever been on a date and someone says, well, tell me about yourself. It's like, oh, this can go in so many different directions. I can tell you about my career. I can tell you about my personal self. I can tell you about my past dating experiences. I can tell you about the type of food I like. I can tell you about so many things because the question is so broad. And if deep down inside you're really asking the question, tell me more about yourself so you can learn more about maybe where I am right now in my dating life. Am I dating multiple people? Am I, of course I'm single, I'm on the date. Am I looking for something serious? Am I looking for something a little bit more laid back? Am I looking for a marriage, about children, all these things? When you ask more specific questions, you'll get more specific answers that serves you and it's more valuable in the conversation. And it helps the person to be able to go into their mind's bank and pull out what it is that you need from them and you need to hear from them. So that way the conversation is valuable and is beneficial, and this person isn't feeling like they have to tell you something that they think you may want to hear. See, it's better to ask specific questions than just to assume a person's going to tell you what it is that you want to hear from them. Ask them the specific questions. So, for an example, we're on a date. Remember, we're on a date. Oh, tell me more about yourself. Ah, that's very surface level. Tell me where you are in your life right now. In fact, If you had to label this part of your life right now as a chapter in the book of your life for the next 10 years, what would this chapter be called and why? Now, this will tell me exactly where a person is. I wanted to know where a person was mentally, physically, emotionally in their life. Now, that specific question is going to give me a very specific answer. No guessing, no assuming, and no surface level conversation that's not really going to give me the details and the goodness that I need to be able to determine if this is a person that I'm interested in or not. Same is true if you are a sales consultant and you're on a sales floor and a person is, let's say you're selling perfume and a person is, they're looking around, smelling the perfume, and you may ask them a broad question like, "Hey, do you need help? Do I need help? I'm in here. I'm a woman. I'm smelling the perfume. Apparently, I like to smell good. Apparently, romance is important to me. Apparently, maybe I'm a girl's girl. Apparently, I'm going on a date tonight. Apparently, something's happening in my life and in my world where I want to enhance my scent. Hello, that's why I'm in here. So instead of saying, "Oh, do you need help?" or "What brings you in today?" you can say, "When's the last time you've been on like an extremely hot date?" Or if they have a ring on their finger and say, "Tell me, what is it that your husband loves about you the most?" Now, these questions, they can sound a little personal, but with the right tonality and the confidence and competence, you can be able to deliver this question very, very genuinely and create and establish immediately that human connection that everyone wants to feel when they're buying something. So, this approach, it gives you a deeper insight to their desires and also their pain, which means that you can connect your product or your service to their specific needs and more opulence and more elegance. Who wants to be asked broad questions? And when you have this level of conversation about yourself that's very intentional and different from all the rest, it sets you apart and you become this charismatic person that the potential customer, potential client wants to just engage with. Your persona, your energy, how you're directing the conversation is stimulating. And as we all know in today's world, it's very easy to get underwhelmed. Why? Because we have social media, we have devices where we entertain ourselves all day long. So the moment something is not entertaining or stimulating, we go to sleep. We snooze off super underwhelmed. Never underwhelm a person. Engage, connect on things that are important to them and juicy topics that are important to them based on the environment. If you're on the floor, the sales floor, based on, let's say you're on a sales call, based on maybe what's going on in their background, what color they have going on. Like when you pay attention to what's important to the person and what's intriguing to the person, these conversations go from bland, feeling like you're overselling, feeling like you're persuading, to actually establishing a good connection and relationship. And this immediately positions you as someone that they can trust. And people do what? They buy from people they know, they like, and they trust. And that was a little long one, but let's go into three. Three, avoid over educating. Remember I talked about the underwhelm, the underwhelm? Well, when you over educate, you're overwhelming someone. And in today, the reason why it's so important to understand in today's society, people are bombarded with marketing, information, 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 information. Excuse me. If you know anything about the age of time we're currently in right now, we're in the age of Aquarius, and this simply means that we are in the age of technology and of information. So because we're in that age, information is so easily accessible to us, we tend to indulge in a lot of information. Now, this is important for you to know as an expert, as a sales consultant, as someone who is responsible for making connections with other humans. It's important for you to know that we're in the age of Aquarius to avoid overeducating. and bombarding someone with a bunch of information. Did you know that this was made here? Did you know that this was made here? This overwhelm is overwhelming and overeducating way too soon without understanding what's important to a person. Instead, you want to share brief, relatable stories that can almost connect the dots for them as well. So, if you're selling a product or a service, have you a good 3 stories that are relatable, that are quick, and that a fifth grader or a 5-year old can actually understand the moral of the story. When you have these 3 stories in your vault, you can lean on them as instant connectors, and it allows for you to avoid overeducating, which is what most salespeople are doing. This is again going to set you apart. So, if you're selling a wellness product, instead of diving into like all of the technical details, share a quick story. Like, one of my clients had very low energy, right? And couldn't keep up with her busy schedule. She's a mom, she's a wife, she was doing all the things. After using this product, she felt like herself again. Within just 2 weeks, she was back wearing makeup, back working out, and she even started painting, something she hadn't done in 10 years. Why? Because she felt good about herself and she used this product to do that for her. That's way more valuable than this was made here and it has this ingredient and this and this and that and all this information and education. Oh, boring, underwhelmed, overwhelmed. I'm checked out. And another thing here, you can always tell when a person is checking out when their eyes start to wander, when their body language starts to move around. They want to get out of there. They just don't want to be rude to you. You're boring them, they're uninterested, they're not engaged, or you lost them mentally. Now, if you are wise and you use this new way of selling, which is the feminine way of selling, what you can do is you can be able to pull them back in the moment you see the body language shift to disinterest. And I actually have a video, and I'll link it right here in the description. I have a video talking about body language and how you can identify certain cues to help you understand what a person is thinking. Because usually, 9 times out of 10, 10 times out of 10, a person is not going to say, I'm not interested because you're boring me. A person's not going to say that, but they're going to absolutely show that with their body language. You, as a wise, sophisticated, peak performer that you are, you pay attention to that. And so at any moment you see the drifting, the wandering eyes, the fiddly hands, you can be able to catch them right back in and engage them back again with your story in your vault, your 3 stories in your vault, or into the desire from the rapport that you built earlier. So bring in that focus back to the desire and also the pain points. Like what were they frustrated about? What was the pain? You should have gotten this rapport at the beginning of the conversation. So that way, anytime the conversation is going left or drifting off, you can bring up the relevant point and you'll actually see it even in the body language. You'll see, oh yeah, you'll see a shift. Why? It's like a glowing yellow goldish light of interest has came back to that person. It's like a glow came back. It's like, oh yes, how long have I been dating him? Oh my goodness, well, you know, oh wow, really? Yeah, I did used to take pictures a lot. Mm. People care about what they care about, and most of the time they care about themselves, not what's in the ingredients of the product, not where it was made, and not all the info. People care about how they feel, and people buy what they buy when they buy because of how they feel. People do every single thing because they feel like it. And the key word here is feeling. So if you can understand the feeling and the emotional connection that it takes in order to keep your conversation stimulating, interesting, and of value to a person, the deal is yours. The sale is yours. Deal done. Sale closed. Number 4, leave room for questions. Do not rush and close the sale. It's almost like going on a date, right? And a guy, let's take for an example, a guy knows like this woman could potentially be my wife. I mean, I know there's more for me to learn about her, but she's wifey. She's wifey type, right? If this guy was to, while we're on a date, if he was to ask me like, do you think you would be my wife one day? We got past maybe two conversations and you're asking me to be your wife. And these conversations were, they were a bit broad and not really detailed. And I don't even know a lot about you, and you don't even know a lot about me. This is where many people lose potential clients. Instead, create space for questions before you reveal your product or service. So, for an example, if this same guy he still has the same interest, but he's asking me specific details on marriage and gender roles and children and education and all of these things, I may be a little bit more inclined to discover what potential marriage could look like if we were to be compatible and date and all of those things. This does two powerful things. It builds trust and handles any objections before they even arise. When you take the time to listen and address concerns up front, your potential client feels seen and understood. In a world where a lot of people don't feel seen and a lot of people don't feel understood, you're able to provide them with this reassurance and this energy. And this is what builds relationships that actually last. So, from a person coming into the store and purchasing a product from you one time because you convinced them, versus a person who comes every single week to come see you and convert each time because you made them feel seen, heard, and you're supporting them with helping to pair that product or that service with their desire. You're helping them get closer to their desire and further away from the things that cause them pain. Number 5, keeping the conversations relevant. Don't ramble about how amazing your product or service is, or even about yourself. Don't talk about things that are not interested in them. And here's the key. You can always identify what's interesting to a person based on where their eyes are wandering. Instead, keep the focus on their interests, their desires, and their visions. Okay, ask questions like, what would it mean for you if you were to do this? And then elaborate, dig deeper. This keeps the conversation centered on their goals, which helps them feel emotionally connected to the solution that you're offering. So remember, all in all, selling is not about convincing someone to buy. It's the furthest thing from it. That's the old school way of selling. It's about intentionally guiding them towards their next level, helping them move closer to their desires and further away from the things that are causing them pain, confusion. So let me know in the comments, which one of these tips are you going to apply in your next sales conversation? And listen, if this video resonates with you, don't forget like, share, and subscribe for more tips on communication, leadership, and mastering your influence. Listen, this is the new way of selling, whether you like it or not. People want to feel connected. People buy what they buy. People buy what they buy, how they buy, when they buy, because they want to. They feel like it. It's your job to help them feel like it. Okay? So thank you for watching. And remember, selling with intention is selling with impact. Until next time.